You seen this one flying around where like a male scratch golfer thinks they could beat an LPGA Tour Pro? Maybe I'll end it roping you into my scratch golf series. See?
Oh, well, that sounds absolutely terrifying.
Like, Charlie Hull would just smoke you. Like, absolutely smoke you.
Just a quick one, everyone. I'm sorry, for some reason the lip sync on the video and the audio is a bit out at the very start of this episode. It only goes on for about 1 minute 30, 2 minutes, and then it kicks in as normal. So I'm trying to sort the issue. Going to talk to the company that I use to record the podcast, because it's happened a couple of weeks in a row now and there's nothing I can do about it. I am trying to sort it. Anyway, back to it. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Birdie Golf Club podcast, where we go round and we meet golfing personalities from around the world of golf, and we get to sit down, talk to them, learn a little bit more about them, and also along the way help our golf game. Thank you very much for joining. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. Glad to have you. Episode 51. We're past that 50 episode milestone and we're pushing on, and we've got such exciting guests lined up. And if you're new here, thank you so much for watching. Don't worry, it's not just going to be me. I'm going to be joined by a fantastic guest very, very soon. But if you are here for the first time, make sure to hit that follow button, hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, leave a little review if you'd like to. That helps out the podcast greatly, and it's also cool for me to get your feedback as well. And I hope you stick around. Plenty of episodes to listen to from before, with fantastic personalities from the game of golf from around the world, and there's going to be another one this week. Before we get to that, I thought we'd just briefly cover some of the things that have happened in the world of golf over this past week. I wanted to not react like many did to the news about LIV switching to a 72-hole format. I thought it was a bit easy to jump on them for the obvious discrepancies that there are between the branding and obviously the 72-hole format. I think it's now been branded the Lexi Tour. And look, yeah, it's obviously a strange move if you're looking at it from a branding perspective. I mean, LIV is literally 54 in Roman numerals. But pushing past that, and people will, straight away, because if you enjoy watching golf, then you want to see golf played to its best standard, which I think everyone mutually agrees is across 4 days and 72 holes. That's just the standard of golf that we are used to. And at the end of the day, for LIV, if it ends up being that their players are more likely to then get world ranking points and to be able to compete at the highest levels of golf, which is even more exposure for the brand, if it improves the tournaments and the attendance ratings and the viewership and everything that goes along with it, then you know what, it is what it is, and they'll come up with a new acronym for what LIV actually stands for, and it's branding. You know, brands change. It really isn't that big a deal. You know, Snickers wasn't always called Snickers, but you call it that now. You know, you forget about it being, was it Marathon before? That's just one case scenario. I'm trying to think of more. There's probably so many more examples of that. But at the end of the day, if it attracts more players, if it adds more credibility to the tour moving forward, who cares? Who cares? It was fun to jump on it for a week, but I think people will push past it pretty quickly. At the end of the day, this world moves very, very fast, and as does the news. So I think it's a good move generally. I think you can see that from the players. The players will be happier. There's less disgruntlement probably from the guys at the top like John Rahm and Joaquin Niemann and Tyrrell Hatton and Bryson. They want to play 4 days of golf, you know. And what it might do also is shift out a little bit of the deadwood, because they did go to play less golf and earn more money. So let's see what happens on that front. Interesting times, very, very interesting times. Obviously, Aaron Rai won last night. I can't actually remember what I want to say it was the HSBC. Let's just double check that. Yeah, so he actually beat Tommy Fleetwood in the playoff. I wasn't watching last night, but I saw the news and I saw all the stuff about Aaron Rai being a man of the people, wearing having pink Castle tees and using I think it was an old M2 or something driver, was it? And obviously the double glove and everything like that. I mean, Aaron Rai he's had such a good year, but like quietly had such a good year. He's always been kind of up there in the rankings, and This is a big win, obviously winning the Abu Dhabi HSBC Championship, and to beat the likes of Tommy as well. I mean, you wouldn't have fancied that in a playoff, would you? Someone in Tommy's form. I actually saw the tracer of hitting that same low cut drive on the playoff hole, which was obviously the 18th hole. It was like for like with what he'd hit on the 18th as well. Just seems like such a consistent golfer. You wouldn't want to play him in match play, would you, Aaron Rai? I'd imagine that would be demoralising, even for the guys at the top of the game. Great to see, obviously, an English guy doing such amazing work, somebody that seems very, very grounded, steeped in the history that his family's given him, of coming from very humble beginnings, and he seems to be maintaining that now. Great for Aaron Rai. Congratulations to him. I think it's good for the DP World Tour, good for the game of golf in general. Rory fell a bit short, I believe, but still managed to dominate the DP World Tour highlights. I actually made a little reel of me playing a round of golf, but if it was on the DP World Tour highlight package, and it just sort of cuts to loads of different bits of the hole that aren't chronological, it's a mess. Someone from the DP World Tour, please sort out your YouTube channel. It is unwatchable. That's from all of us. Thank you. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was major that's gone on in the game. I don't think there's anything particularly. Yeah, this week's been a bit of a whirlwind for the podcast. There is very great, strong, locked-in potential that we're going to have a top 10 player in the world joining us on the podcast, which is pretty mind-blowing. I won't say any more at the moment. Go and check out the Instagram if you haven't already, and you'll be able to put the dots together. But just so exciting. But you know what? Our guest for today is ridiculously exciting for the podcast. A YouTube star, somebody that I came across whilst watching the Professional Golf Advisor channel, and just enjoyed the fact that she was completely herself the entire time. She didn't play up to any of his antics, which could have got under your skin for sure, and just a fantastic golfer. One of the most elite amateur professional ladies golfers out there. We had a fantastic chat. Her YouTube content is insightful, important for amateur golfers as well as those that are aspiring professionals, by using ShotScope data to equip you to play better on the course and to give you some realistic targets as well. But above all, Hannah's a fantastic person who's able to connect with people through the realism that is her personality, her unbelievable golfing ability that comes from hard work, and obviously her experience in the golf space as well. So this week, our guest on the podcast is Hannah Holden, and I hope you enjoy our conversation, and let's head straight to it. Which will be interesting. I was actually, do you know what, Hannah, I first saw you on Professional Golf Advisor, which was such a good video, because you came across like just completely like whatever to whatever he was doing. How did that first come about?
He just dropped me a message and was like, would you be interested in doing a collaboration? I think he's been in the YouTube space a while and probably been trying to do collaborations and hasn't necessarily found people who've wanted to do something. I think I'm always very open to like meeting up with different people in the golf space and trying different stuff. Because like at the end of the day, like collaborating with different people is always like good for everyone. And like it's interesting to see what other people's takes and how other people do content. So I was like, yeah, sure. And I think he was a bit surprised. I said, yeah, to be honest. And he was like, I want to do this. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And I was kind of like, he was like, just like be yourself, do what you want. But I think generally I'm quite like just straight like level on the golf course.
Yeah.
So I was kind of being me, and he was just doing his thing. Yeah, kind of annoyed I didn't beat him, but it was super fun.
I love the rumor that goes around that he's actually a really good golfer and he's just putting it on.
Yeah, and I was kind of trying to wind him up a bit on that. Like, are you really going to try to take all these shots off me? It's like not kind of what you're saying to people is the thing. But yeah, he still wanted a shot hole, so
yeah, he took it.
At
that level handicap, you got to take what you can get. So it's fair enough. Hannah, I always ask guests the same thing to get to know them a little bit better and understand sort of where they've come from. When was the first memory you have of picking up a golf club?
Oh, good question. So My background is basically like my whole family plays golf, so like both my parents are golfers. My mum's actually played for longer than my dad, which most people are usually
Oh, really?
surprised about. Both sets of grandparents then play as well, like my aunties, my uncles. My parents actually met in St Andrews watching the Open, so
Wow.
doesn't really get more like family history of golf than that. So we kinda just always got taken to golf, and, like, at first you wouldn't necessarily play, but, like, you might just, like, sit in the buggy and, like, I'd have my toys in there. And there's this, like, one holiday place in Norfolk called Barn and Broom we'd go every year as a family. There's, like, lodges on the golf course. There's, like, 2 golf courses and, like, a little par 3. And we just kind of I'd just sit in the buggy and eventually it'd be like, "Oh, well, maybe I'll hit a putt or, like, a chip or stuff like that and get into it." And I remember my mum and dad used to have golf lessons up at Crossland Heath, and sometimes I'd be like, "Oh, maybe I'll hit, like, a shot or 2 on the range." Um, but then I think, like, my biggest memory of, like, learning golf is there used to be, like, a little mat halfway down, like, the 9th hole at the course I played at. So I grew up at LIV Golf Club, which is, like, a little 9-hole course. And we used to go with the pro and hit these shots off the mat. And to me, I was, like, looking at this tree in the distance, and I thought it was miles away, and I was hitting these shots, and I was like, "They're going so far." And then I go back now, and the tree's literally, like, 100 yards from this mat, and, like, I just remember vividly as a kid thinking I was hitting it so far, and, like, that tree was so far away. And it really wasn't, but that's probably, like, my biggest memory of, like, actually, like, hitting shots and, like, learning golf.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the fact that your parents met at St Andrews and everything like that, it was kind of destined that you were you were gonna,
Yeah.
carry on playing the game.
I think if there's 3 of us, so I have a brother and a sister as well, I think, yeah, it would have been pretty surprising if any of us had have not ended up playing golf in at least some capacity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The subliminal messages were there. They're like, "You are going to be golfers." So so where did it go from there?
Was
So
never really it was never really forced on us, there was just so much golf around us that you kind of wanted to
yeah.
join.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Where did it go from there then, Hannah? You obviously went and had some lessons, found the enjoyment for the game. Did you did you sort of continue to progress and think about maybe the professional side of things as you got older?
So I was really obsessed from, like, 6 with being an architect.
Oh, right.
So, like,
That's
that
unusual.
was I know. Like, people at school were like, "I wanna be a princess," and I was like, "I'm gonna be an architect." And they're like, "Okay, you can design my castle." And I was like, "This is" looking back, I was like, "That's a bit of a random thing to want to do when you were so little." So, I kept playing golf, I played for Yorkshire, played, like, in national events. Like, my biggest event I ever played in was the British Amateur, which was pretty cool experience. But I'd, like, always had this vision I wanted to be an architect. Instead of going to uni in America, I stayed over here, and did an architecture degree, and then went and worked in architecture and hated it.
Oh,
And I was like,
really?
"I don't know, like, what am I gonna do now?" So I kind of quit my job, came home, and I was like, "Quit my job." My mum was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna play golf for a year, and then, like, we'll see what happens." So, like, I booked all these amateur events I was gonna play in, I was like, "I'll play for a season, see how I get on, then decide what I wanna do." And literally, like, a week later, got offered the job at National Cup Golfer, to be, like, equipment editor and review all their stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do that, but I've booked all these amateur events, so I need this amount of holiday next year, please."
I bet
Um,
that went down great.
they were pretty good, to be fair. I just, like, got X amount of extra, like, unpaid leave so I could play in
Mhm.
my events. And I actually had a really good season, but then really enjoyed, like, the job and working there and doing all the content, so ended up going into that rather than turning pro. I think the thing with turning pro is it's so expensive. There's not a lot of money in the women's games. Well, especially if you're staying in Europe. Like, I think really if you want to play professionally as a woman, the route is that you have to go to America and play college golf and then try and move through the system of that side of the pond. Because it's so hard over here. I played on the LET Access a few weeks ago in the Rose Ladies Open, and, like,
Mhm.
you're talking to the players and it's costing them so much, it's so hard, like, they've still got all the stress that, like, the men have and the practice and the expenses, but the money's just nowhere near there, and, I have friends who are losing, like, 10 grand a year, and they're keeping the tour cards, and you think, like, that's and then they're watching their friends of a similar age who are, like, got a career, buying houses, and it's a really hard thing between, like, do I keep doing this thing that I love
Mm.
Or do I like move on with my life in other places? So I think for me, like in the content side, it's amazing that I get opportunities to like dip in and play in some of that stuff. Um, but I also like get to make a career out of it. Um, and yeah, I was just not sure I would ever have had the funds to fully be like, I'm gonna go play full time for a year because the reality is there isn't a UK tour like there is for the men. So if you want to go do it, you got to travel the whole of Europe, and that's like extremely expensive.
There's no UK tour for women's golf like there is with like Clutch and Hotel Planner and things like. Well, Clutch is the main one, really, isn't it, for the UK? But so there
Yeah.
isn't something like that at all for the women's game.
So Justin Rose has obviously really helped. He does like 5 events every year, which are like one-day events,
Mm.
which are kind of aimed around being like around the start of the European season starting, so it's like warm up into that. But there is no like UK-based tour, so if you want to play as a woman professionally, you have to travel the whole of Europe.
Why do you think that is?
Just money back in, like to get enough sponsorship um, to cover the events. Like it's really difficult. People want eyeballs in return. And stuff. Yeah, I think it's really difficult. It's obviously men's golf's been in the spotlight a lot longer, so therefore
Mm.
it has a lot more feeding down. I'm not sure what the answer is to how to solve that. I think some of it is definitely like bringing out more personalities and showing people how good female golfers are. I do still think there's like a stigma that they're not really that good when actually you go play with these people. They've got +6 handicaps, that they're incredible golfers.
Yeah,
But like just because maybe they play 1,000 yards shorter than the men, people think they're not as good,
it's ridiculous. It's
which is
ridiculous.
like insane.
I don't understand the if it is like an eyeballs situation or funding situation. It just doesn't seem to add up. I went to a Clutch Pro Tour event and there were no eyeballs there. Like
Yeah,
like I was one of the very few people walking around. But yet that's found a sustainable enough model. The guys are still struggling on those tours. They have to finish, I think it's top 12 to break even for the week. Every single week in a field of 140 or whatever, however many it is. But at least it's a tour that's sustainable. And it say you don't make any cuts throughout the year, you're not losing, tens of thousands of pounds like you're saying that's happening in the ladies' game by having to travel um, to Europe and everywhere else to play the golf to be able to have a regular schedule. It just feels like there must be a way for there to be a ladies' tour that's sustainable and that means that you can stay in the UK and play your golf. It just seems mad.
yeah. I think because I obviously played the event, which was the Rose Series, which was in the UK, and obviously the UK girls, like, just thought it was amazing that they were at home for the week, and
Mm,
it's all the little things like where you can take your trolley because, like, none of them can afford to have caddies really. So, like, you can take your trolley for the week,
right.
you drive in there instead of getting on a plane and hiring a car, like, just all these little things obviously make a lot of difference in terms of expenditure for the week. So, your friends and family can come watch, obviously really helpful, like, so, yeah. I don't know what the answer is to that. I think Justin Rose does an amazing job, but I think if him and his team can manage to do 6 events in England, like including funding the LET Access event, it must be a difficult thing to choose, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because if him as one of the biggest golfers out of England ever, and that's what they're producing, which don't get me wrong, it's amazing.
Mm.
To imagine putting a full field through the whole year, I'm not sure what we'd have to do to get to that point.
Need like sort of 4 more Justin Roses to pop up out of the woodwork. Yeah, I mean that's tricky, isn't it? And there's a barrier to entry as well, isn't it? Because like you said, you maybe would have considered it, to actually play professionally if there was something there to go, but that's kind of been in the way of you pursuing it because you're like, well, I don't want to put myself in that position by sort of making my life difficult then as well.
Well, I wouldn't have had that much money to just put up for it, um, at the time, so, um, yeah, it's hard, and I think it's really unfair that a lot of people don't get to have a chance at it just because
Mm.
of money, and I think even more in the women's game, like, people obviously say a lot of the time, like, golf is just people with money, and I think in the women's game, you see that even more because it's so expensive and there's not the prize funds that like the people who end up on tour or at the top are just people who have been able to afford to chip away at it for years and just keep going. Like I think one of the biggest thing that winds me up is when people are like, "Oh, that person's so talented," or like this and that, and it's like, no, like personally, I don't really believe in talent. It's like how many hours you've done it, like how obsessed you are with it, like how much work you've done, and money is such a big like gateway to help with that because it just means like you don't have to work 3 or 4 jobs on the sides like some of my
Mhm.
friends are doing to
Yeah.
play. And you can keep doing it year after year. Like even just not having to worry about like how am I going to pay for the next event
Mm.
is like a massive thing off your back. So yeah, I definitely don't have the answer for it, but it obviously is a shame that. And don't get me wrong, it still is like that on the mini tour for the men as well.
Mm.
But I do still think it's definitely worse in the women's game.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that just the fact that it doesn't exist outside of those 6 events is enough in itself to really put a big question mark over that, and something that needs to change, and probably needs to change pretty soon as well. I mean, talking of
Yeah,
sort of,
I mean, they could in theory turn up and play Clutch Tour and Tartan Tour, but
mm,
there's no way you can graduate out of it. So you would just be playing that to like play events. There's no like cards up for grabs like there are for the men playing in those events. Um, and they're pretty expensive to enter as a woman without getting anything out of it at the end of it. So
mm,
like obviously the guys have the opportunity to get the challenge cards. There's not the same thing. So there is, I guess, in theory, the opportunity there for them to play in the UK, but it doesn't like lead them to graduate anywhere else.
sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? I don't think we're going to solve that one. Maybe not right now.
It is a long podcast, I think.
Long podcast with probably a lot of people chiming in on it as well would maybe help. But how did you find looking outside the professional side of the game, and obviously the stoppers that have been put in place by that, but how did you find growing up playing the game as a female golfer? I think that's something that, you know, I'm ignorant to, you know, playing golf, playing really average golf as a male golfer, but it's something that I think everyone would like to hear a little bit more of how you found the experience. And you could be as honest as you like here, Hannah, with how you found that, because it seems like a mad question that I'm even having to ask it, but I know
Yeah.
that it is applicable. So if you could speak to that.
I think it's like a real mix. You get like a real 50-50 of people who are like, this is great, and who are like, this is not. Um, and I definitely think it's improved a lot versus like now versus when I was playing junior golf. Um, I mean, it's 12 years since I was a junior now, which
Yeah.
is pretty mental to me in my brain. It was my 30th last weekend, so yeah. But I remember like when I first kind of was playing well enough to like be good enough to get in the junior team at my golf club. I think I was like about 12 and I was like, well, the juniors are playing all these matches on a Friday. Like, why can't I play in it? And it's like, oh, you can only play in the junior team for your boy. It's like, right. And like, that wasn't a club rule for my golf club. It was like the local union. So all the teams in like the Halifax Huddersfield League would all play against each other on a Friday night. Like, you'd rotate who you played each week. And the union basically had this rule that it was boys only.
Right.
And people kept trying to appeal it. And I remember vividly one year my dad going to this appeal with like a group of people and they had all this petition signed. And there was loads of people in favour of it. And this guy on the committee sat there and he was just like, Michelle, we went and played on the PGA Tour. She proved women can't compete with the men. We don't want women in our junior league. And it's just like, Michelle, we shot 69 on the PGA Tour, right? But let's just fathom that for a second. This woman went like, yeah, she missed the cut by like 1 or 2 shots, right? But can you imagine pulling any male golfer out of a golf club who is not a pro and being like, go and try shoot 69 on the PGA Tour? Like, they would be nowhere near. And you're like basing like every girl in the union's league on like if they're good enough to play or not, based on if like one woman has made the cut on the PGA Tour. Like, it was absolute insanity. Anyway, like, eventually after, like, multiple years, they got it through so we could play, but it was, like, no more than 2 girls in every team, like and the rules would change every year, like, if you got courtesy shots, if you didn't get courtesy shots, what tee you could play off, and it was just well, you look back and think, like, this is just complete madness, and I vividly remember one match. We went to play an away match against this other club, and they knew I was in our team, and we got there, and some of the juniors had been out before the match, and they picked all the red tee marks up and put them behind the white tees because they knew I was gonna be there and playing, and they didn't want me to beat them. And it was just like, "This is so stupid." Like, but, I mean, obviously, they're just kids, and they were probably doing it in jest, but it was a bit annoying because I did have to go and play off those tees because then, like, no one knew, and we just set off, and that's where they were. And they also, like, pulled all the low handicaps out of the team, so I had to give loads of shots, and I lost on the 17th, and I was so annoyed. But then, like, for every story like that, you have loads of boys who are, like, really supportive and, like,
Mm,
want you to be able to play. And I don't think you can just always remember, like, the negative ones.
mm,
Um, so but I think we have come a long way from then, like, girls can now play in everything in our uni, and they can even play in, like, the interclub stroke players and stuff like that, which they never used to be able to. And actually now we can play in the men's scratch team. That's a new one for this year. So I think that's pretty cool that like the scratch team for the club now is just like essentially mixed. And if you're good enough, you can go play in it. So yeah, when I was 12, which was what, 18 years ago now, no girls in the team. Now they can compete like for the whole men's scratch team. So it does show you like stuff is changing, but I suppose in 18 years, maybe we would have expected a little bit more progress than that. I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, 18 years ago, you look at like how the world was 18 years ago and where it's at now, and it's like, mm, you'd maybe expect a little bit more progress than that, or just, I mean, even looking before that, you'd kind of expected progress before that, maybe as well.
I think like one of the biggest things is, and probably one of my other biggest bugbears is like, obviously people talk about tradition so much in golf. And like
Mm,
I understand that. And there's some traditions that are lovely. Like maybe you want to go in the clubhouse after you've played your round and put on your shirt and tie. And I don't really have anything against that unless it's stopping someone coming in and joining that because maybe they don't have a shirt and tie, like a young junior or whatever. But I just think a lot of the time, like people throw the word tradition about to like get away with stuff that they really know they shouldn't be getting away with. And like, if we think of like the tradition of golf, it was like a very white male gentleman, like dominated business thing. And is that what we want golf to be moving forwards? And like, if we keep saying, well, this is tradition, like this is how we do it, does that match like our view of where we want golf to go and like who we want to play and how we want it to work? And like, I don't think you can say like we want to be diverse and we want to do all these things, we want to be inclusive, but then say but we have to keep, like, all our traditions because, like, those 2 things don't necessarily work.
yeah, yeah, tradition just for the sake of saying it to get away with, to get away with, whatever opinion you might have as being like, oh well, that must stay, that must stay.
Yeah.
It has to be. Did you not see outside? I have a car parking space with my title on it, so that shows that I held quite a bit of weight. It's
I
all
actually
that
think
stuff,
at this
isn't it?
point, like, I do think sometimes women are just as bad as men for causing this because, like, we say, like, the whole traditional thing is, like, maybe Tuesday or Thursday at your golf club is, like, Women's Day.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
obviously for the subsection of golfers that are currently, like, women, let's say the average female golfer is probably, like, 60, 65, retired, like, playing on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock works perfectly for them. So, like, they have half day or three-quarter day or full day booked out, and they don't wanna give that up. But that then means, like, it's very easy for men to say, "You're not playing on a Saturday." And again, like, that doesn't work if you wanna try and change, like, we want more younger females playing or we want working women playing, like, that's fine, but maybe, like, you're gonna have to give up your hold on Tuesday a little bit because we need to free up Saturday as well. So, like, it's not always the men that are, like, holding back women
mm.
being involved more, like, it does go both ways. I think you do have to say that when you're talking about this kind of stuff and not just be like, "It's the men," because like, it's not. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is
Yeah.
everyone, and it's, like, how we view it, and it's just, like, changing perceptions, I guess.
Just making it more accessible. Golf is getting more and more accessible, but it's got to be across the board. And, like you said, I am a big fan of traditions in golf. I love like the golf courses that stick to you know, is it rule Singapore's where it has like if you're playing shorts, you wear the long socks as well, you know, and I quite like that. I quite,
But I think there's
there's
so
something
many
to that.
quirky traditions like that are fun, and they don't, like, stop anyone getting involved.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, how do we keep the good stuff and just, like, lose the stuff that we don't necessarily need?
Time, I think, is unfortunately the answer, isn't it? Which is a
Yeah,
shame, but it seems to be the only way it's possible. You know, it's just time,
yeah.
which
The
which
clock
isn't
moves
fair
slowly.
either.
The
Yeah,
clock
yeah,
moves slowly on your golf phones.
very, very slowly. Moving on to sort of other things, Hannah. You've obviously enjoyed the game. Is there somebody that sticks out, and it could be a family member or whoever it may be, that at times where you may have been struggling in the game, someone that just kept you wanting to keep coming back, somebody that gave you great shared experience, whether that be a coach, whoever it may be? Is there somebody you specifically point to sometimes as to who kept you in the game?
Yeah, easily. I remember when I was probably, like, 17 maybe, and I just got in this rut with my golf. Like, I was hitting this massive slice. I'd got down to, like, 4 handicap. I was like, "I can't play to it. Everyone's getting down. Like, I just wanna be off scratch. Like, this is rubbish. Like, I don't wanna play like this." And, like, I remember going to this every year we had, like, these Yorkshire assessments with, like, the head coach and, like, some of the officials. I remember just crying, like, "I'm trying so hard. I'm not getting any better, and I don't understand." And, like, that year we swapped England coaches, so we got a new England coach, and I'd probably been with him. We had, like, 2 coaches at the time. We'd probably seen them, like, 6 months, and I was like, "Right, I'm gonna go and start having individual lessons from him." And he's been my coach ever since. He's called Andrew Nicholson. He's based up at Wynyard, like, in the Northeast, and he's kind of ex-Ledbetter, so he trained with Ledbetter out in America in, like, the Nick Faldo era.
Mm,
And he basically, like, completely just fixed my golf and was like, "It's okay, it's fine." Like, he just had, like, full confidence in me when I, like, needed it, and was just, like,
mm,
really, like, low with my golf. And, like, I worked so hard over that winter, and I got down from, like, 4 straight to, like, zero point 0.5 the next season, and I was like, "Oh, this is so much better." And, like, ever since, he's, like, been, like, my biggest support with whatever it is. Like, he is my golf coach, but he's also, like, one of my closest friends as well. Um, so yeah, whenever we both need a pick me up, they're like, he'll be on the other end of the call, regardless if it's like golf or just life.
that's lovely. That's lovely. That's
I think
such a
that's
nice
the
answer.
nice thing about golf. Like, it's funny because like I'm 30, but like he's one of my best friends, and he's like nearly 60.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and it's like I don't think there's many other like sports or communities where that happens in the same way.
This episode is brought to you by ShotScope, the golf tech that actually helps you play better. Whether it's their rangefinders, GPS watches, or stat tracking sensors, everything's built to give you real insights into your game without the faff. I've been using ShotScope myself, and honestly, once you see where you're gaining and losing shots, it changes how you approach every single round. And you can get 15% off any order with the code BirdieGolfClub at checkout. Just head to shotscope.com, use the code, and start playing smart. This episode's sponsored by Golf Escapes, the people who make booking your next golf getaway ridiculously easy. I recently stayed at East Sussex National through them, and honestly, the whole experience was spot on. Great course, great hotel, and all sorted without any stress. If you're planning your next trip, head to golfescapes.com and use the code Birdie Double Points to get double escape points on your booking. That's Birdie Double Points at checkout, and start looking forward to your next golf escape. Just a quick one from NordVPN. NordVPN is just a great tool that you can add to your life. See, whether you're on your phone, your laptop, in the cafe Wi-Fi, you've got to make sure that you stay protected. And also, equally, if you're booking holidays or trying to book your next golf trip, golf courses, sometimes you can get ripped off based on where you are. And NordVPN is a complete game changer for that. See, with one click, you're protected. from trackers, creepy ads that follow you around like a dodgy caddy, or just, people that are trying to snatch your virtual location, and also equally trying to steal your data. NordVPN is genuinely the easiest way for you to stay protected online and also gain the best possible experience you can from the internet. So if you're interested, make sure to click the link in the episode description, and that will get you an amazing deal on NordVPN right now with their Black Friday sale. Like I said, easiest way to protect yourself online, and also it helps support the podcast. One click, full protection, job done. That's NordVPN. It just doesn't have the longevity to the other sports compared to golf. Golf has this longevity to it and like this equalising humility that comes from the game as well, of we've all hit bad shots, we've all hit the best shot of our life, and we're all capable of four putting. It's like this.
I think my coach would say he's not capable of four putting, but although his putting is probably the worst bit of his game, but he's a pretty good ball strike, so
Okay,
probably
well, we just need to find a terrible pin position. We need to see him four putt now. That's a mission of yours. Have a word with the greenskeepers. So obviously things have moved on, and you've got to a standard playing off of +3. Is that right?
Yeah.
Which
just
is
about going on to that. I think I'm like +2.5 or something.
Well, we are heading into winter in the UK, so that's fine. Just ramping up for next season. That's all it is. But even any plus handicap, any scratch handicap is like really impressive golf. So what made you then think, I want to put it on camera with all the troubles that come with that?
I didn't really it was just part of my job when I joined National Club Golfer.
Right,
So
okay.
I'd never kind of ever really thought about being on camera. I think if you said to me 12-year-old me, you're going to be on camera, I'd be like, what are you on about? Because I was I'm a shy, behind the scenes kind of person. That's always been my default mode. And then I got offered this opportunity to interview, and they were like, you've got to go screen test. And I was like, oh my God, what's a screen test? What is that? I've got to go on camera. And I remember I was still working my notice period at the architects at the time. And there's this big Tesco down the road. So I'd go park in the Tesco car park at lunchtime, and I'd put my phone in the little sat nav kind of holder you'd have in front of your car. And I'm right, I'm just going to talk to the camera for half an hour. And that was all the prep I ever had for screen test before this interview. And I rocked up at this golf club for the screen test, which was separate to the rest of the interview. And it was just 2 videographers and no one else. And they were like, right, we have to give you the assignment. We're going to film you doing it. And then we're just going to take the tips back to the office. And I was like, that's even worse. It's not just someone watching you present. I'm just going to film this here, have no idea what it looks like. And then someone else is going to sit in the room and look at it. Yeah, I think it was kind of just pure fluke. They went into the clubhouse and got a demo club from the pro, and they were like, here's a Titleist 917 driver. And I had the Titleist 915, I'd been for a fitting with Titleist and knew loads about it. I could compare between the two, and I was just they're really lucky that they pulled out that club at the right time. So yeah, I managed to get scraped through the screen test. I've never been on camera before, and got the job. And yeah, then part of it was that we had to review X amount of clubs. We had to do X amount of videos a week. And that's how I got into it. But I remember looking back at the first videos I did now thinking, God, they're so awful. Obviously compared to I've done it so many times now, but I just look so stiff and frozen on camera. And I guess for anyone who's thinking, maybe I want to do that, you just got to do reps and keep doing it. And one of the biggest things to helping me get better was during COVID, because at National Club Golf, we always had videographers. So it was always, I'd go out for the day, there'd be 1 or 2 videographers and they'd be filming me. And obviously COVID hit, and it was right, I'm going to have to film myself. And I literally set up a mini, net, set up putting green stuff in my garden, and I filmed myself. And I was like, well, this is great because I can just experiment and do different things and be stupid. And if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter because it's just me and I can delete and start again. And actually, I would say in that 6 months to a year, my camera skills got so much better because I was just almost there was no fear to fail because there was no one there to watch me fail. It was just right, let's do it. Although maybe I guess if my dad pulled some of the CCTV footage from that time and some of the stuff I was doing in the garden, I got my family roped into some of them. Yeah, some of that behind the scenes footage could be, interesting, but yeah, luckily none of that's made it out anyway yet.
Until now.
Yeah.
And here I have the CCTV footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that sounds interesting because you obviously got the job with National Club Golfer, and that was part of it. Were you always an equipment junkie? Was that always something that you were interested in so much, or was that something you had to kind of learn with the role?
Bit of a mix. I would say, like, what I would say is I'm a perfectionist and like equipment is part of golf. So like my coach has this thing, like he calls himself the point one coach, and I guess it's a lot like kind of the cycling philosophy that they had with the like 1%. It's like how can every little area get a little bit better? So like equipment's always been on my radar. And I think I'm probably lucky that I have such a background of family playing golf and like they kind of understand the importance of club fitting. So like when I was 11, I think, I went to Ping and had, like, my first club fitting and, like, fall through the set, like and there it's great, I think, because it's, simplified, and even as a kid, you can learn, like, "Okay, I'm an orange dot on my line
Hmm.
angle," and I kind of, like, understand what that is, compared to maybe some other really, like, technical terms that maybe I wouldn't have got at that point, but, like, yeah, I can understand that. I look at this graph and there's different colors, and because I impact it this way and I'm quite short, my clubs are flat. So I'd always kind of had an understanding of that, and I'd had kind of multiple custom fit sets, and I'd been either to Ping or to like facilities where you can test loads of different brands out. So it was definitely something that's on my radar, and I like to know what I'm doing and like different stuff like that, but definitely nowhere near on the level like that I know now, and I learned through doing that job.
Yeah, yeah. And was that a process where you kind of felt overwhelmed initially because obviously like the expectations of what they're looking for, or was it something you could kind of gradually learn throughout the role?
I think what really helped is like I'd done so much work on TrackMan with Andrew, my coach. So loads of those figures I kind of understood and I knew like what I wanted to be or where I needed to be. So when I pulled different clubs out, like I could be like, oh, that's changed. And because that's changed, that's going to have changed. And actually, if that changed, I need that to change to be that. So that was probably a very good benchmark to start with. And actually, just after I started, I also went to like a big TrackMan seminar at Archfield, which was really great with the TrackMan team. Um, but yeah, I think I started in the April of 2019, and there was like a backlog because all the old clubs from January were like kind of still sat in the office because the person before had left. So I was like testing all these new clubs, and I was like, oh my god, there's so many clubs everywhere. Like, how am I going to review all these? And I remember one of the directors at the time, I think he was the finance director, and he came in and he was like, Ping have got some new wedges out, haven't they? Like, are they forged? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know. Like, I've just arrived, there's boxes everywhere. I was like, I think so. And I was like, I used to really need to like learn everything. But then in that winter, I got to go to California with TaylorMade to the headquarters, and we literally interviewed like nearly every club designer there and like all the engineers, and it was so amazing. You could ask all these people who are just like uh, basically like rocket scientists for golf clubs, all this stuff. And that was like really helpful for just like learning more and understanding. I think because of my background in architecture, like a lot of the engineering stuff like kind of made sense to me and like I understood the science of it. So that was definitely helpful. So my architecture degree did help me.
There you go. There you go. Didn't like the actual job, but the essence of it lives on.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which is good. And is there a club which you would have looked at pretty intensely, obviously, during your time reviewing these clubs and checking them, that still sticks out to you now as being like just one of the best clubs out there? Is there one in your mind where you just go, that was so good?
Such a good question. I think it depends how you look at the question in terms of like engineering progress or like performance. I guess like one of the ones that stands out to me is like when TaylorMade first brought out the Stealth
Hmm.
and it had that new carbon face in it. And I'm not necessarily saying like for me it was maybe the best performing club that I ever tested, but I did like a deep dive interview with them and it was so fascinating because some of the technology in that club face they've been working on for 20 years, and there was things that they were like, "This is gonna work, but we just don't know how yet, and, like, we need to develop this bit and this bit and this bit first." And for me, it was so fascinating to think, like, I think a lot of times in the golf community, people get really annoyed when a new club comes out, and they're like, "Why is there a new club? Why is there more technology? Like, I've just bought this, it's so annoying." Which is interesting because we don't necessarily have that view when, say, a new iPhone comes out, because we just think,
Mm,
"Well, that's fine, I've got an iPhone, I'll get a new one when the next one comes out," which is basically what golf club manufacturers expect you to do, like, they don't expect you to buy one every year. But I think because stuff comes out so frequently, people almost think it's, like, rushed and there's, like, not improvements. But actually to see how long they'd been working on that and, like, all the different areas of the company and, like, the golf ball company had to do this bit for the club face, and, like, this person in the company had to do this bit for the club face. And I thought that was, like, so fascinating, like, how many just elements there were to it. And
yes,
then
yeah, yeah.
probably the other thing was when not endorsed by TaylorMade to say this, but another example was we went out to the TaylorMade golf ball factory, and I love using a Pix golf ball, like, I love the little patterns all over it. I think it's
Mm,
so cool. And you just think, "Oh, right, that's something they've, like, printed on the golf ball, cool." And it's like, no, you go into the factory and they're like, these units, so like one unit to print that pattern on is like £1 million. And they're explaining how difficult it is to print it perfectly so it matches on all the sides. Because obviously it's a golf ball, it's spherical, like you can't just
mhm.
necessarily print it in one way to get the colours to print exactly like how the inks work. And you're just like, people pick this ball up off the shelf and they just think, oh, that's nice. And, like, actually, the amount of engineering that's gone in just to put the paint on that golf ball at the end is, like, unfathomable.
Yeah,
And, yeah, I guess, like, my biggest experience is, like, going behind the scenes with these companies and seeing the R&D departments and, like, what goes into it. Because people are always like, "Golf clubs are so expensive," and, like, yes, the money you pay for them is expensive, but when you see, like, the people that are working on them and the kit they use and, like, the behind the scenes, some of these are, like, they're really not that expensive, like, compared to what is being used to produce them, um, and it's quite interesting to see, like, that other side of it.
yeah, yeah. Sort of behind the curtain of like where people just think it's like a generic factory, like they would expect for anything else. It's like, no, no, these guys have engineered machines to do jobs that you wouldn't even imagine.
Yeah,
Which is a cool process. That's interesting. The golf ball being like one of the ones that was like a standout, which doesn't surprise me because it's the part of the bag that doesn't get paid attention to enough by the average golfer. The golf ball, they just pick up whatever golf ball they pick up or whatever lake balls they can find or whatever it may be, and it's like you're probably going to want to take a look at that. It's a pretty
yeah,
crucial
my,
part of
like,
the game.
biggest pet peeve is if people do club fitings with a range ball.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
like, you're going for a fit-in, you're looking at all this data so precisely, you're like, "I want my height to be this, I want my distance to be this, I want my gapping to be this," and then, like, you're using a range ball which, like, doesn't fly correctly, doesn't spin correctly, like, why are you doing that? So, like, my biggest tip for anyone would be if you're gonna go through the effort of having a fit-in, please go to somewhere that does it with an actual golf ball.
Yeah, just a 5-piece urethane golf ball. Like let's make sure we got the best. You know, it could be a TP5, it could be a Pro V1. You know, we can we're okay to mess around, but do not use a luminous balled golf ball.
Yeah. I would say that's the biggest difference between, like, the US and the UK, like, the quality of custom fit facilities and, like, being able to hit a ball that you can, like, hit it outside, watch the ball fly. Maybe you can hit off grass, you can hit an actual golf ball. That's probably, like, the biggest separation between the 2. Obviously, like, Ping have their facility in Lincolnshire, but you can't just hit off grass there. Titleist have theirs at Woburn, but it's literally, like, £500 a day if you wanna fit in there. It's very
Yeah, so
exclusive. They
yeah,
do, like, 1 person a day. And that is, like, the best in the UK that I'm currently aware of. You've got SGDT who do a great job, but again, you're hitting off a mat. It's gonna be interesting to see TaylorMade's new Kingdom facility that they're growing out, 'cause I think that's gonna knock some stuff out of the park, so yeah.
doesn't look like
Probably
there's loads of bays there though, does it? It's like there's like two
I think
bays
that's
there.
gonna be very much like the Titleist Woburn thing, like, you kind of book in, you get half a day. It's an expensive experience, but, I mean, if you're gonna go and spend thousands of pounds on a custom fit set of golf clubs. Obviously, it's expensive to do the fitting, but I think paying that £500 is going to make sure that it's correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pilots
Yeah.
do also have their fitting centre in Cambridge, which you do use balls. It's just off mats.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's worth doing. If someone's, like you said, going to spend that amount of money, it's kind of like a little bit extra, and you probably won't regret it, which you could
Yeah.
do if you head down to such and such a shop to get a fit in or whatever it may be. So that does make
I have
sense.
another equipment one for you as well, actually, now thinking about it. I did a review of the 11 hybrids. Have you seen them?
Yes, I've seen the brand. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good.
It's like a full set of hybrids. So
Hmm.
pitching wedge to 3 iron, you can play hybrids. Like, in a day and age where there's a lot of golfers who just don't wanna practice, but they wanna go out and they play socially, and everyone's hitting irons, they don't fly high enough, they're not stopping on the greens. People should just use a full set of hybrids. Like, I'm a real strong believer in this and seeing them and hitting them and seeing loads of club golfers play. Like, the biggest thing that most golfers have an issue with is, like, getting enough height and being able to stop the ball on the green. And, like, those made a massive difference, and, like, that was probably one of the clubs I picked up, like, hitting a pitching wedge hybrid. I was like, "What on earth am I doing?" Like, there is so much loft on this. This looks crazy, but, like, it is so easy to hit. And,
Yeah,
like, if
yeah,
you fit in like, I obviously understand there's golfers who don't wanna hit that, and they wanna hit an iron, and they wanna learn how to play really well. That's not the kind of golfer I'm talking about. But there's loads of golfers who just wanna go out, play, enjoy it, not practice. And I just think that category of golfer should be using something like that because it's easy, it's more enjoyable, and, like, it's gonna help you out.
yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I had Lance Reader, because the podcast is partnered with Crank, and he was saying that they go up to a 15 wood. He's like, he said, and it's just so fun to hit. He's like, he said they do a lot of work with female golfers, and he's like, there's ladies who are in their like 60s, 70s with a 15 wood. He's like, it's just so fun to watch them just so easily hit that ball so high up in the air. It stops quick, and they're instantly, and that's why they do their 3-layered face thicknesses as well. He's like, he's like, I don't care if it doesn't fit USGA rules when it comes to, the double X driver that they've got. He's like, but if someone with 60, 70 mile an hour swing speed can hit it 30, 40 yards further up in the air, how much more fun
Yeah.
is that for them? And that's kind of
I
the
think
part that gets missed, isn't it, in some things?
yeah, I think sometimes people forget, like, some people do this for fun,
Yeah, yeah.
like, make it more fun. But also I do think people underestimate, like, how important height is for golf and, like, especially for females, like, generally we don't spin it as much. So, like, we have to have more height to get the same amount of stopping power. And, like, to the point, like, I spoke to some coaches out in Korea through, like, my coach who knows them, and they have girls in, like, 10, 11, 12, and, like, all they're working on is launch angle. Like, how can we hit it at the correct height that they're gonna be
Mm,
able to stop it on, like, LPGA tour speed greens? 'Kay, so if I think of, like, my mum, who's a good golfer, she's a 9 handicapper, but has lost a lot of club head speed as she gets older. Like, why is she trying to hit 6, 7 iron? Like, she just
yeah,
should
yeah.
um, and that profile fits so many golfers. It doesn't mean you're not a good golfer.
Hmm.
That it just means you need to hit it a little bit higher, and it's just gonna help you around so much. Especially in winter as well when it's starting to get wet and you're not getting run on the ground, because a lot of golfers rely on getting, like, that 50 yards of run in summer. And it gets to winter and they're like, "The course is playing so long." I'm like, "Yeah, but it doesn't have to be because it's like you need the height and the hang time, and it would be so much easier for you." So
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to say to you
everyone gets
about
some
that, actually.
hybrids.
Yeah, get some hybrids. Get the 11 hybrids endorsed by Hannah Holden. I was going to say to you about the winter sort of golfing stats. 'Cause I was watching one of your videos, which I know was obviously heavily influenced by you being ambassador for ShotScope as well, and the data that ShotScope are able to give you for your videos and for your just general play as well. But the winter uh, relationship between how far we hit our drives in the summer and then in the winter and irons in the winter, the drop off was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
think that was so interesting. I launched my new channel just going into the winter, and, like, I knew people were really interested in distances. So I contacted ShotScope and I said, like, "Can you pull this data? Like, can you see what happens in winter versus summer?" You go out and people are like, "Oh, it's still 150, I'm gonna hit my 7-iron." And I'm like, "Well, actually, you don't really hit your 7-iron 150 in summer anyway, but now you're trying to hit it 150 in winter, and, like, the air's denser when it's colder, like, you've got 2 more jumpers on, you're not swinging it as fast, like, you're losing so much more distance than you think." And I think in some cases it was, like, 30 yards plus. I think people just don't believe that, but it's definitely true. I mean, I went out this weekend and we were playing and it was freezing. It was, like, the first day I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's definitely winter." And it was, like, 134 yards into one of the par threes, and I was like, "Well, no, I ever hit an iron, 9-iron, but, like, I'm just gonna chip a 6." Because, like,
Mhm.
it's so cold and the ball just doesn't go anywhere, and, like, people have just this huge stigma of, like, "Got to hit this club this far," and, like, "My mate's hitting that club," and, like, just, like, control a longer club and, like,
Mm.
actually get it there. Because, like,
Yeah.
so many golfers are missing the green shot all the time. That's, like, the biggest thing that comes up in shot scope stats, like, we need to club up more because we're just not getting to the green. And all the
Yeah.
time we look at holes and like all the dangers short, like it's very rare that the dangers at the back of the green. So we're
Yeah.
just playing to the hardest part of the golf course to chip from. But I keep trying to say this to people. Hopefully some of them are listening to me. So yeah, buy some hybrids and club up. It's my two top tips.
Yeah. There you go. You know, it was a fascinating insight. I couldn't help myself going to the comment section, and straight away it was someone going, "Oh, two was it because driving distance." And yours was obviously shot scope data generally works off of total distances because it
Yeah,
will be from where you've hit the shot to where you hit your next shot.
yeah.
And he couldn't seem to work that out straight away. So you had to obviously say to him, "Look, it's not just carry, it's total." Like that's kind of a pretty important stat because I think so because of the fitting processes that people go through, they get really hung up on carry distances because that's obviously like the thing that gets focused on the most with fittings. But when you're out there playing actual golf, total distances are pretty important because that's where your ball ends up. But people
Yeah.
just think about carry too much when it
I
comes to
mean,
those sort
carry
of
is
things as
obviously
well.
important if you've got certain hazards to get over, but out on the golf course, obviously, it's gonna be your total distance. I think more with driver and stuff off the tee, like, you're
Yeah.
gonna be looking at what your total distance is.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Exactly. And I noticed that sort of theme sort of carried on in your channel as well. That you're big into your stats, Anna, when it comes to YouTube,
Bit of a nerd.
which is cool.
I like the numbers. I think
Yeah.
it's, like, just a bit different as well, like, obviously, there's so many people doing different stuff on YouTube and, like, you don't just wanna do the same thing, and, like, I guess a lot of the big golf YouTube channels are pros and they teach, and that's not my angle at all, like, I'm not a professional coach, so I don't believe I should do that, and where my perspective is like how I managed to chip around the golf course and like use the swing that I have and maybe the less practice I do now because I've got a job and I've got other things to do, but still manage to keep my score down. It's like the low hanging fruit, like how can you get better at golf without getting better in a way? Because there's so many of those ways we can do that. And yeah, obviously that naturally led into the partnership with ShotScope and the data they'd be able to provide me. I think they think I'm a bit of a nerd too. I did a shoot with them a few months ago and they were like, "So we want you to talk about this, and this is the stat." And I was like, "Yeah, and this is the stat for this and this." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "You don't understand how much time I spend in that spreadsheet." So like I have a spreadsheet which is the back end. So I can
Yeah.
see like everyone's data like pulled into this sheet. So like it's split up into handicaps. So if you're a scratch or a 5 or a 10 or a 15, I can be like, right, technically you should hit the green X amount from this distance with this club. And that's how I make those videos because I can see all the stats from the different things. And I think they were just like, "Why do you know all these stats so well?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I like a number as well." So it's just like, if there's a few stats I remember, they just, like, stick in my brain. That's
Yeah.
my, like,
Exactly.
party trick. 52% of greens from that distance are really fun.
It's good to know. If I'm in trouble on the golf course, just gonna shoot over a quick email. Like, wait a minute.
But I think sometimes people, like, think stats is, like, a negative thing as well, like, "Oh, you've only hit 52% of the greens." But, like, sometimes I like to flip it around the other way as well because like, a lot of the times with my coach or like when I was a performance manager for England Golf, we'd use this number called like 50-50. So it's the distance on the green that you're like 50% as likely to miss it as you are to hole it. So for PGA Tour pros, it's generally about 8 feet. It obviously gets a little bit shorter as you move into the amateur game and depending on what your handicap is. So say it's like 5 to 6 feet for amateur golfers. And sometimes I think that's really helpful as well because if I go out and I'm playing and I hit a 6 foot and I miss it and then I have one on the next hole, I think, well, this is 50-50, so like this one should go in. And like I
Mhm.
think you can use stats to be like more positive for your game as well and not like kind of get yourself out of that rut of like, oh, like my 6 footers are just not going in today. But like, no, statistically, like someone gonna go in. Like just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, look at it as a spin it.
Yeah.
Just spin it as a positive. We need positives when we're playing golf. We don't need the negatives. But what's one stat in your stat cave of information that you've got that really sticks out to you as like low hanging fruit? And let's say, what is the most common handicap range? Probably what, 15?
Yeah, I
Probably
think
be
for
the
men
most
average
common.
handicap's about 17.5, something like that. For women it's a little bit higher. It's actually higher than people think, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it is higher. Yeah, you'd assume UK sort of golfers mostly, especially ones with proper handicaps, would be members of places. You'd assume they'd be down in the 15s, 14s sort of level. 17.4 is quite a lot. What's like the lowest hanging fruit for that handicap range that you can see in the stats that they're just not doing consistently and they could improve on?
I'm gonna repeat myself, but it's missing green short.
Missing green
Missing
short.
green short, and then, like, the other one I'd say was, like it was interesting because I played in a played on Saturday, and one of the guys I was playing with was playing in the comp because there was a men's comp on. And I think it's quite interesting to actually play with someone who's playing in the comp when you're not playing because 'cause you're kind of watching
Mm,
them, and you're like you almost see the mistakes they're gonna make before they do them. And, like, because normally in a comp, you're also focused on your game, like, you're playing a card as well, you might not necessarily pick up on that. But I think people almost, like, decide on the tee, like, "This is a hole where I can par," or, "This is a hole where I normally make bogey." And then they get, like, really tied to, "I have to make that score on this hole." So, like, on this hole, it was a par 5, and he's a long enough player that it was a birdieable hole for him. And he hit a pretty good tee shot. He was, like, an inch off the fairway in the semi, but he lost his approach shot out to the right in the heather. And I could watch it, and I was watching him, and he had, like, this 40, 50-yard pitch from the heather over a big bunker that was, like, 20 yards short to the green. I was like, he literally said on the tee, like, "This is a I need to make birdie here." And I was like, "What's
mm,
gonna happen here is he's gonna stand over this and think, I need to make birdie here, like, I'm gonna force this pitch shot, try get it on the green, and he's gonna hit it in the bunker. And then he's gonna leave himself a 25-yard bunker shot to, like, a front pin with a really soft fringe, and he's not gonna get it there. And then he's gonna chip
mm,
on and, like, either make or miss the putt, and he's made, like, bogey or double from thinking, I've gotta make birdie." Was actually, like, the logical thing to do is just chip it out sideways.
mhm,
Like, look at that bunker and think, "That is the biggest threat. I'm gonna chip it out sideways, chip on, and, like, I've left myself a good par putt." But because people, like, so fixated on, like, "I have to make par," or, like, "I have to make score on this hole," they, like, go for the aggressive shot and then make the big score.
mhm.
So, like, how can we take big scores off our scorecard? It's like, that's one thing that blows our scores up. But then my other one would be, like, getting to the green more.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So, like, I was watching, I was thinking, like I was like, "I'm gonna make a YouTube video about this," because, like, I'm just watching him and I'm seeing him do these things, and, like, for me, if I'm stood somewhere, every time I'm hitting the next shot, I'm like, "What's the probability of where this is gonna go?" So if we take, like, an easy one, it's, like, a really uphill right to left putt. Like, the probability is I'm gonna leave it short and it's gonna miss left because I'm not gonna allow enough break. So, like, every time I'm pulling around the course, it's like, what's the probability of where this shot is gonna go? And, like, where can it not go to, like, avoid the big score?
Mhm.
So the short answer to that, who's anyone who's kept up with my, like, blithering along is chip out more and, like, take the safe play and just, like, accept, like, what I'm gonna do is worst case, I'm gonna make a bogey.
Yeah,
But I'm not
yeah.
gonna, like, try keep my ego and, like, try force the birdie or try force the par and, like, maybe have a double or a triple. I'm gonna, like,
Mhm.
do diplomacy round here and, like, worst case, I make bogey.
Yeah, yeah, it's like the Scott Fawcett sort of laws of golf, like no doubles, the Tiger Five, like just eradicate
I
the
love
big.
Scott Fawcett stuff and Decade. Like, I was a subscriber to that for years until I basically stopped playing full time, and ages ago before he was, like, really big, he came and did a talk to, like, all the England golf conference team, and I was like, "This is so good." Like, I guess you guess it, like, goes with my brain. Um, and yeah, so much of his is just, like, bad, like, big score avoidance, like, it's not about playing good golf. And
Mhm.
that's what confuses people, like, they think people who are good golfers, like, hit perfect shots and, like, everything's just a metronome, like, it goes perfectly well, and it's like, no. Like, they just scramble around and, like, they avoid doing really, really stupid stuff. So, like, how can you do less dumb stuff?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just
When I
they
had
just think
him
that's the approach golf.
I had him on the podcast, and it was awesome because I'd watched his stuff for, like, years, and I was sort of trying to just get little tidbits for myself as well, you know, because normally he sort of says there's a certain level of golf that he just doesn't really deal in because he's so plain, like, isn't he, with the way he sort of puts things. He's like, that's not really what I'm interested in. I like professional golf, and I like to, you know, that, but all of it can be applied to all levels. It's just he doesn't want to spell it out 7 or 8 different ways every single time. But literally from our conversation, I managed to get out of him that he's like, hey, you're just not good enough a golfer to start aiming at pins. He's like, that's like number one. He's like, from wherever you are. And that was kind of the point where I was like, from wherever I am. Like, you know, you like repeat it to yourself. Well, yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm
I
not
think
good
that's one
enough
of the
from wherever
stats that,
I
like,
am.
amazes people. So I think even, like, scratch golfers miss the green, like, 50% of the time from 100 yards.
Mm,
And then you have,
mad.
like, 28 handicaps or whatever, and they're firing at a pin, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And it's
Hmm.
quite interesting because my home course this year, like, changed their pins. So do you know a lot of times people have, like, red front, yellow middle, white back? There was, like, this huge uproar. Everyone was like, "How are we gonna know where the pin is? Like, what are we gonna do?" And, like, for starters, my course is pretty flat. Like, I play at all Woodley, so most of the time you can see, like, a lot of the contours and a lot of where stuff is. But I was just like, "I play +3. I do not need to know where the pin is. Like, I am not good enough to know where the pin is." Like, maybe we have one green on the golf course that's literally, like, an 8% slope front to back. And, like, maybe on that one hole, I might try be short, but the probability is I'm probably not good enough to hit it short of the pin unless it's literally right at the back of the green. So, like, there's this huge uproar around the whole golf club, and I'm like, no one's getting the ball to the green. And, like, we're stressed about where the pin position is. Like, it's crazy. As golfers, like, I think our perception of, like, how good we are is so good. And actually, like, maybe if you get to 30 yards, you can probably see where the pin is, and then maybe you can fire at the pin. But, like, everywhere else, you just really don't need to worry about it.
I took it to the extreme. I was like, no, he's right. Like, I almost was like this sort of depressed person walking around a golf course, but it actually suited my game like so much better because I literally, even if I was 10, 15 yards off the green, I wouldn't look at where the pin was because generally pins are going to be tucked in spots where you kind of difficult to get to. So
Yeah.
instead, I was just looking at where is the flat part of the green in comparison with the hole. And that generally was the middle of the green or the biggest part of the green, wherever it may be. And I was just like, that's where I'm going to aim. And like that was my first, like the first time I broke 80 was that weekend because it was like, yeah, that's easy.
I think another huge thing is hole inputs, and that's like this will sound really dumb, but like most people just should never try and hole a putt unless you're literally like inside 5 foot, and maybe inside 3 foot. And Scott actually has a really great drill for it on Decade, which he uses, and he's just like has this massive wide gate, and he's just like you need to get it through here, and you need to get it like 3 foot each side. And a lot of the time, like I explain it on my YouTube channel, and I'm like, if you have a dispersion of like the shortest possible putt you could hit and the longest possible putt you could hit, and like say you try hold this putt and like maybe you're gonna hit it 6 foot past, but like the worst you're probably gonna do is maybe leave it 3 foot short. Like just don't try hole it. Make it look
Mm,
worst case, the putt goes 2 foot past. You're probably not gonna miss a 2 foot past or 3 foot short. But like you are gonna 3 foot from 6 foot past a lot of the time because you have less than 50% chance of holding the putt from there. So,
mm,
like, just try to put everything like that. That is basically what 99% of golfers should be doing every time they stand up a putt. But I don't think people like that because it's so, like, negative in a way, like, try not to
mm,
hold this. But remember, like, the goal is to not do something dumb. So, like,
yes.
if you're trying to not do something dumb, what would you do? Oh, I tried to put this because I don't want a 3 putt.
Yeah. And how many times do you hear people say, like, when they've raced one past, like, I just fell in love with the line.
Yeah.
You know, I could just see that going in. It's like, well,
There's obviously a circumstance where that changes, like, if you're playing match play or, like, you have to
sure.
hold the pro or it's the 18th green or whatever. But, like, most of the time, I think, yeah, to play better, we should just be a lot more conservative.
Yeah. Boring golf is it's good golf.
Yeah, it's easy to say that sat in a chair though, isn't it?
Oh, so easy. So easy. I know I'm next going to go out and I'm going to be firing at pins and just blow up out there. It's literally every time. I need this like on repeat sometimes, you know. Just I
Hold
think
it and I'll just ram at you. It's 50
I think I think
times from here.
I think what I'm going to do is just have on my glove, you're not good enough to go for pins. You know, or maybe just you're not good enough, which could be quite a worrying thing to have written on a glove, I suppose. But as we go into, obviously now we are pretty much getting into that winter grind period in the UK. What sort of plans have you got for that? Have you got something specific that you're going to work on over the winter in your game?
And I actually really love the winter grind. And also controversially, what I'd say is, like, I played a comp a few weeks ago, I put it on my YouTube, I didn't play it very well. And actually, sometimes I really like having a bad round of golf near the end of the season because I think it really motivates you to be like, right,
Hmm.
I'm actually going to do something in the winter. Because it's so easy to be like, okay, it's winter, I'm going to practice. And then, like, you don't really do anything for 6 weeks and you're like, oh, it's fine. And then it's Christmas. And suddenly it's January and you're like, oh, I really haven't done anything. Um, so yeah, I went to see my golf coach like maybe a week, 10 days after that tournament. We did a pretty deep dive into my swing. So we got some technical stuff going on there. I went for a putting lesson last week, so we've got some technical stuff to go on there. Just done a big training aid haul.
Yeah,
So that's go on YouTube soon, see what's the best there. And I'm
team
actually
you.
currently trying to clear my garage out and maybe build a sim in there. See how
Nice.
much of my st stuff I can rearrange, see if we have enough room. So yeah, a lot of practice planned hopefully, which I'm probably gonna film and try take people on the journey and just like show people the like most effective things to do to get better. I think people think it's so much work and on some level it is, but also there's so many like little things we could do. And I'm just like a big advocate for like, could you do 10 minutes a day? I think people think you have to go to the range for like an hour or an hour and a half and like hit 100 golf balls. And actually, like, it would be so much more effective if you just put a net up in your garden with a mat and like maybe film your swing with like a £10 tripod from Amazon and hit like
Hmm.
10, 15 balls a day because the brain loves like you doing stuff multiple times on repeat. Like, that's such a better way to rewire your brain and like learn new things. So actually, even if you did like 10 practice swings just in a mirror every day, like that's way better than just going once a week to the driving range. So like what these little things we can do to like slowly get better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can agree more. Got a garden here. I haven't got anywhere to hit balls, but I love just sometimes coming out and just working on like a swing feeling. Like that's what took me from being a slicer of the golf ball to now, you know, kind of virgin on a hooker of the golf ball. You know, that sort of, but that's what the work you have to
Uh,
put in.
Which to prefer, because I was a slicer and now I'm a hooker and I have thoughts on this.
I still I prefer where I'm at now.
Dear. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that hook.
but I'm nowhere near the level that you're playing. So it's because I get it because the left miss is a scary miss.
Oh, it's so fast as well, isn't it? And you're just like,
Yeah,
oh, that's gone.
but at least I feel I can do something more with my hands this way, whereas before the
Yeah.
hands just weren't involved at all.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's
Yeah.
interesting a lot that at home practice and the practice swings and stuff like that. I remember I was at a Callaway event once and Pete Cowan was there. And he was like, everyone talks about the 10,000 hour rule. But like, think how long it would take to spend 10,000 hours hitting golf balls. Because like, actually, if you go to the driving range and like you hit 50 balls, like how long do you actually spend hitting balls? Like the swing takes like 2 seconds. So like, how can you possibly do 10,000 hours of reps golf And he was like, "You have to just do, like, slow-mo swings and practice drills and, like, swings in your mirror," and he was like, "I would much rather club golfers just did that in the mirror at home and, like, just keep doing reps and looking at it and they have feedback, because that's gonna get you to that 10,000 hours, like, way quicker than you could possibly do just, like, beating balls at range."
That's
I
a
thought it
great
was a
point.
really interesting perspective, like, I'd never thought of it like that. I'd always just thought, like, "Oh, if I go to the golf club for 2 hours and practice, that lasts, like, 2 hours." And then he was
Mm,
actually be like, "Well, no, in that 2 hours, you might have hit golf balls for 20 minutes." And I was like, "Oh, no."
yeah. Oh, no. Gonna have to do some readjustment on the amount of time I've been playing. Yeah, that is a great point. I like to think of it when I'm doing it, and say it's like a cold day in the garden or whatever, just swinging. It's just like my mates aren't doing this right now, and they're probably just going to dust off the clubs in March, or February, and think they're going to be back. Maybe I'm going to come back with a little bit more than what they will, and and then they beat me.
And it's yeah, then maybe you.
Yeah, and then they beat me, and I regret all the decisions I made. I throw away my clubs.
I think sometimes, like, the thought of going out in winter is so much worse than it actually is. Like, you
Mm,
look out and it's, like, cold and you're like, "Oh." And then I just think you get there and you start hitting and it's just for me, I just think practicing is so fun. It's just, like, mind clearing and enjoyable. You don't have to worry about anything else while you're there. Um, so yeah, that's probably why I love practice season.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like more of an elite golfer when I'm wearing a snood as well. There's something about it. I just feel like I'm in my own lane, like it's a focus thing, because I literally can only see here.
I'm bad with the snood. I have it, like, up to my eyes and the hat's here, and you can literally just see, like, a slither here.
Perfect. See, that's focused. That is winter golf at its finest. Maybe, maybe, maybe not.
I think winter golf at its finest would be, like, in Australia somewhere.
Yeah, but we can't. Let's not. Let's not think about that. That's not. That's too depressing because that sounds lovely. It sounds lovely. Well, Hannah, it was awesome, like talking to you and meeting you. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast. I'm really enjoying what you're doing with the YouTube channel and everything as well, and the collaborations that you're doing on there, and just giving people that insight into the fact that because of the way you are, you're so level with how you deliver things that sometimes people view like a +3 handicap or scratch handicap golf as being like this unattainable, like have to be perfect in everything they do, and you're sort of like pulling back the curtain on that a little bit, and obviously showing that you have to be dedicated and you have to be a really brilliant golfer, but actually there's just some key fundamentals that people are missing. And with the help of some shot scope data, with some help of some analysis of their game and some tips from people like yourself, they can get out there and enjoy their golf a lot more by playing lower scores. And hopefully that's been part of your mission of the channel.
I think that's, like, the thing. I just think you don't have to be a brilliant golfer to be off scratch, and, like, obviously, like, you fundamentally have to do some things pretty well,
Mm,
but, like, I just still think I do so many things, like, terrible. And, honestly, like, sometimes I hit the ball and I'm like, "That's so far not near the club face." Like, it's just not near the middle of the club face. Like, that was just not correct. But actually, like, it's fine. Like, it's
hmm
kinda gone straight, it's in play, like, I can hit my next shot. And, like, that's kind of trying of what I try to bring to people, like, I don't think it's as hard as you think it is, and yes, obviously, like, there is some things you have to do to be able to, like, play scratch golf, like, you probably need to hit it a certain distance, and, like, you need to be able to chip and putt a little bit. But actually also those things are not talent-based, like, I just don't believe that at all.
mm,
Like, we worked in the England setup, we had girls coming off, like, 10, 12 handicap, they maybe didn't get picked the first time, and some of the techniques were terrible, and, like, we got down to Curtis Cup teams, like, it's not about, like, where you come into golf or, like, what you can do at the start, it's literally, like, can you find a coach who can give you good information, and then,
mm.
like, can you act on that, and, like, just keep doing it. Like, yeah, buy your hybrids, hit more club into the greens, find a good golf coach, mine's pretty good, I'll share him around if people want, um And then, yeah, if you're willing to put the hours in and do a bit of practice, like, I just believe anyone can be a scratch golfer, like, and I'm very adamant on that point. Maybe that's, like, what I need to do on the channel, just take someone and, like, prove, like, "Right, this guy, we're gonna make him into a scratch golfer."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's maybe there you go. That's your mission.
I know
Maybe
I
you can
just need to
take
find someone to definitely practice, don't I?
yeah, that's the issue. You'll have somebody who will want to be a scratch golfer but will not want to put in the work.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I would say to people. I think it's such a big thing, and like, especially it's probably a big thing on social media now as well, because we look at people living these lives and maybe they're influenced, or maybe they're a fitness influencer, or they're a golfer, or they're something else, and they're like really good at one particular thing, but actually they do like 30 hours of work to that work a week. So like I follow some people and they're like marathon runners and they're amazing. I think, oh, I'd love to run a marathon. That looks so cool. And then I'm like, I do not want to run for like 10 hours a week. Like I do not want to do that. So like if you don't want to go and practice, don't try and be a scratch golfer, and like don't put that pressure on you, because you're like just putting this pressure on you that's unattainable because you're not willing to do what you need to do to be there. But
Hmm.
like if you are willing to do that, I think you can be there.
Yes, yeah.
Pick what you want to do and then decide like, am I going to do this? Like my other pet peeve is like I don't have enough time to do that.
Hmm.
And, like, obviously, everyone is busy and they have different time, but, like, my challenge should be you would be every time you wanna say, "I don't have enough time to do that," say, "I'm not bothered about doing that." Because, like,
Hmm.
time is a preference. Like, I know we all have lots of things going on, we have to work and we have to do this and that, but everyone has some element of free time, and, like, what do you choose to do with it? And, like, if I choose
Yes.
to go and sit and watch TV or scroll on my phone, like, that's time I could have been practicing my golf. Maybe I would have shot a lower score on my vlog. And, like,
Hmm.
it wasn't I didn't have time to practice. It was, like, in that moment, I wasn't bothered. I chose to do something else. So, like, what are you really bothered about? What do you really wanna do? And, like, just don't do the other stuff. Like, I'd love to run a marathon, but I'm not gonna do it because I just don't wanna run, and I wanna use that time to play golf.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Like you said, people not willing to put in the work, but still want to say that they want to do it, but don't really want to do it,
And
even though
that's
they
so
could do
stressful
it.
on yourself then.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a horrible place to be. It's just constantly then questioning why you're not doing it, but actually wanting to do it. I've said that a lot. I've said the word doing. Doing it, but not. Yeah, I don't know. I've got big stuff in it, but I think that's great advice. That's great advice. I actually want to ask you one more question, Hannah,
Mhm.
before we go, because I had this written down, and I thought it would be a good question to ask you. And we'll finish on this question, and I'll say before, all the links to Hannah's socials and everything like that will be in the show notes for this. I'm sure most of the people listening will be fans of yours, Hannah, anyway, so I'm sure they'll be aware of it. But if not, go and check her out. Go and make sure you follow on Instagram, you know, YouTube, whatever other social media handles I can find. I'll put in the title below. But the last question was, which myth about the women's game annoys you the most? And we
Have
may
you
have already
seen
covered it.
have you seen this one flying around where, like, a male scratch golfer thinks they could beat an LPGA Tour pro?
I have.
And
I
I just
thought it
think that's
might be that.
hilarious. Like,
Yeah,
I think that's hilarious.
yeah.
Because I think maybe if I was a guy, my handicap would maybe be like 1 or 2. And, like, I played in an LET Access event, so that's Challenge Tour equivalent, and I'm, like, 20 shots behind. Well, no, for 2 rounds. I'm, like, at least 10, 12 shots off the pace as maybe a 2 handicapper male, let's say. And so LPGA is, like, 4 tours up. Like, they're so good. I played with Celine Boutier in a practice round, a pro-am at the Scottish Open. She's, like, hitting her hybrids as close to her wedges. Like, I'm a pretty good golfer. Like, they're so good. Like, Charlie Hull would just smoke you. Like, absolutely smoke you. Like, she shoots mid-60s constantly off the tips. Like, with literally, like, Rory spec golf clubs. She has, like,
Hmm.
pure blades, like 120-gram stiff sharps and irons. It's insane. I watched her hit 4 irons, with on the range there, out of literal divots. Just, like, pure. Like, shot after shot. Like, I just don't think people understand. I would love, more than anything, I would host that on my channel if someone would do it. Like, I would take a scratch golfer, and I would get an LPGA Tour Pro. I would just love to see that happen. I think Charlie Hull did say on social, like, she would do that because,
Right.
like, I just don't think people understand, like, how good the LPGA Tour Pros are. It's probably because it's so underwatched as well, and, like, I think sometimes male tour golf is easier to understand because it's on courses we've played and like we have some benchmark or we know the courses really well and like we understand where the shots from can be hit from and how difficult they are. And like even the women at the top of the professional game, I went to the ANWA, so the Augusta National Women's Amateur, which is played the week before the Masters at
Hmm.
Augusta. And like the girls are hitting like pitch shots, like 50, 60-yard pitch shots off these downhill slopes into like the 13th green. The greens are like stimping 13 or whatever off these downhill lies. The turf is so tight. They're pitching it to like 5 foot. I'm like, I don't understand how hard that golf shot is. And
Mm.
like, these girls are amateurs.
Hmm.
They're not
Yeah.
even tour pros. So, yeah, I think the talent in the women's game is definitely undervalued. And I would love to try and showcase that. So if anyone listening has some great ideas that they want me to bring to the YouTube channel, I'll definitely try and do that. I'm working on a few things behind the scenes, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some humbling needs to be done on some of the male expectations of where they are in the world of golf compared to the elite sort of female game. And even, it's just, yeah, it is madness. It's ego. It's ridiculous. It's all the things that add up to just, they're going to end up looking pretty stupid out there. That's pretty much it. I mean, when you see like these tailor-made dates and stuff and you see Tiger Woods like watching in awe of like of Nelly Corder's, Charlie Hole's like hitting golf shots. Like if Tiger sits there and goes, "Wow, that's cool," like then just leave it at that. Like you're never gonna hit a shot, as a male golfer where Tiger says that, because he's seen it all.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Tiger
yeah,
probably knows what's good.
he's probably got an idea. And even like when you watch Rory as well, Rory, you can tell he's just so impressed by like swings and just the ball flight and everything, and it's just like, yeah, it's another level.
I think it's going to be so interesting at the next Olympics because they're making it mixed. And I'm
Yes,
really
yeah,
excited to see what the format is because I think we could have some really cool pairings in that. And I'm very adamant that like the more like mixed golf we see on screens, like the better that is because people will come out of intrigue and because the men are there as well. Um, so yeah, I think we could have some really cool pairings there. Like imagine like Tommy and Charlie for England.
that's what
That
I
would
was
be sick.
thinking. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
McIlroy and Leona Maguire, like she's so fiery in match play. Like we could have some
Nelly
really
Corder, Scotty Scheffler.
yeah.
It's just
Although
that
they're
would
probably a
be
bit more reserved as a pairing, but
yes, yeah,
obviously exceptionally good golfers. But yeah, I think that's a very exciting and like the more of that we can see, the better, in my opinion.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad I asked that as the last question.
Yeah,
I'm pleased.
I'm on brand here. Just
There
this
you
is my
go.
parting note. Yeah, watch some women's golf, everyone.
Well, like I said, Hannah, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and it was awesome to be able to link up through obviously the ShotScope links, which is really cool. And I look forward to watching sort of the YouTube journey and everything that happens on there, and hopefully we'll catch up again at some point and do this again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Maybe I'll end it roping you into my scratch golf series. We'll see.
Oh, well, that sounds absolutely terrifying. If there's one thing people don't want to see, it's my very, very regular golf game. Thank you, Hannah.